I wish to thank the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, for this conscientious budget that put the people of St. Lucia first. Mr. Deputy President, allow me to thank the Almighty for the strength and courage that He affords me to carry out my duties to my country. My sincere gratitude to my family and well-wishers for their continued support on this journey. I want to extend appreciation to the 2,041 people of Choiseul Saltibus who came out and cast a vote for me at the last general election. The government of St. Lucia and I are here to serve all the people of St. Lucia. It's with a grateful heart that I thank the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, for the opportunity to serve in the capacity of Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education. Mr. Deputy President, I am elated to work with a Prime Minister who spends no time trying to distract. He consults and strategizes and uses our scarce resources wisely to ease the burden of poverty for the majority of St. Lucians. An economist, a professional, a man of integrity, a man of experience, a man who understands the plight of the common man, a man whose desire is to create opportunities for education and provide livelihoods for as many St. Lucians as possible. A man who is intolerant of corruption, a man who delivers. If Philip J. Pierre says he will do it, he will deliver. If the resources are not available, he will tell you, Ipamate, Ikaidu la vérité. And if the current economic status doesn't allow him to ease, doesn't allow him to keep his promise on the 4,000, the deduction, the tax relief for those who earn $4,000 and less, he tells us at this time it's not possible. But I am certain when the time comes, he will deliver. The Honorable Prime Minister has presented a budget with no new taxes on the back of St. Lucia. Budget ça la pas ni pièce taxe neuf en les gens cette Lucie parce que Premier ministre a comprendre bagay wed séjour et ça on les pour mettre taxe en les gens cette Lucie. He has also done all in his power to cushion the effects of the rising fuel prices in St. Lucia. As Parliamentary Secretary for the Ministry of Education, I stand here to speak primarily on the issue of education. This government believes that education is a right and not a privilege, and a means of unlocking the full potential of every citizen. And it is in this spirit that the government of St. Lucia has put the education of our children first. Mr. Deputy President, we all know the devastating effects of COVID on our education system. Loss of instruction, the psychological impact on our children that we do not know what the future holds for. This government wasted no time, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in attempting to relieve parents, to assist parents by providing education support at the beginning of the academic year. We have also seen that the government has paid CXC Mathematics and English A for all Form 5 students. Mr. President, ICT in education and e-learning initiatives, and we go to the e-books. Mr. Deputy President, I was taken aback. I was appalled. I was dumbfounded when I listened to Senator Pauline this morning. For a while, I was wondering whether this was the same education system that I worked with as a principal, as an education officer. Mr. Vice President, I heard of the expansion of the laptop program, and I'm still wondering whether I know what expansion means. If the senator speaks of expansion. What I know, and I was in the system, is that there was a pilot project in Form 3.
That's right.
Not all the secondary schools were involved. In fact, we don't pilot all schools. So it was some schools. There were myriad problems with that project. And I will tell you a few that I know because I was there. There was a disconnect with the facts. Okay? Apparently the senator may have got her information wrongly. Because there were problems with the alignment of the curriculum with those e-books. They were cheap, substandard e-books. And just opposite my office, there's a room full of e-books. Wow. To this day, the technicians cannot fix them. Wow. And this is the truth, the whole truth. We had to pay millions of dollars in insurance that the Ministry of Education can ill afford for the e-books. Let me inform the senator that we have procured better quality devices that are superior to the e-books. How could an e-book be better than a laptop when students can download the e-book reader from a laptop?
Yes.
All we have to do is to teach our students the skills to maximize on the use of their laptops. This is what we have to do. Mr. Deputy President, to date we have distributed 8,000 learn books. Between September and now, the government has been able to secure an additional 11,100 devices. The first set of 3,000 devices have been received and distributed to needy students throughout grades 1 to 5 at the primary schools. A second batch of 3,800 Chromebooks have been received and are being configured to deliver within the next 3 to 4 weeks to secondary school students and teachers across the island. The third batch of 2,200 Chromebooks and 2,100 tablets are expected to be on island soon and ready for delivery early in the new term. Mr. Deputy President, we shall ensure that every secondary school student receives a laptop, and that is from Form 1 to Form 5. Not some of the students, but all of the students. And approximately 5,000 additional primary school students are equipped with devices. The Department of Education will continue investing in devices to be distributed to students and teachers within the education system. And as the senator said this morning, Senator Lee said this morning, was it Senator Lee? Yes. That a laptop is no longer a luxury. A laptop is a necessity for every student. It's just as if you are a pastor, you always need a Bible. The department will continue to be resolved in its quest to strengthen the e-education ecosystem. Greater emphasis will be placed on teacher training and improving connectivity. We shall continue to solicit the support of our development partners as we seek to bridge this digital divide. Mr. Deputy President, ICT in education and e-learning initiatives. Smart classrooms. The Republic of China, Taiwan, has supported our smart classroom drive in a big way. They have provided equipment including interactive televisions and recording equipment to over 30 primary schools throughout the island. Mr. Deputy President, we shall continue to collaborate with our partners to expand the program to eventually provide smart classrooms in every school. Mr. Deputy President, we are a government that plan and we execute. I've been hearing start from the budget debate that we started this and we started that. It appears that it is a pipeline that is choked, so you start and nothing goes through. So the St. Lucia Labour Party will execute because we get things done. Mr. Deputy President, the government continues to make an immense investment in technology. There has been an issue with servicing and repair of devices throughout the island, throughout the schools. The Department of Education will continue with the employment of IT technicians resident at all 8 district offices to provide the necessary technical support to the schools and maintain the devices procured so that devices will no longer have to be sent to the IT department at the Ministry of Education for repairs. In fact, we need the room that is there empty because there are too many devices there, Mr. Deputy President. Mr. Deputy President, over the past year, 2 major projects have been undertaken in the education system. The Education Quality Improvement Project, EQUIP, and the Human Capital Resilience Project, HCRP. Under the EQUIP project, during the 2022-23 financial year, EQUIP will focus on further infrastructural enhancement of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, which will be undertaken with an allocation of $3,500,000. A gender-sensitive policy and strategy for prevention and reduction of alcohol and drug abuse among primary school children. An assessment of a secondary school to determine program and infrastructural needs to facilitate the delivery of an alternative curriculum. The development of a special education needs policy, which aims to prepare a gender-sensitive policy and strategy for the government of St. Lucia with the best option for educating children with special education needs in the least restrictive environment. We know that our special needs children have not been treated fairly, and we need to recognize them as St. Lucians who have rights and privileges. We need to cater for them, and the St. Lucia Labour Party will do that. The Education Act as well will be reviewed. In fact, as we speak, the review is ongoing. The Human Capital Resilience Project. One of the major TVET projects currently unfolding is the Human Capital Resilience Project. This $20 million project equally focuses on TVET and social protection and its associated policies within the Ministry of Equity. The upcoming year will focus on streamlining programs and training areas and undertake the training of at least 1,200 persons in enhanced TVET qualifications. We aim to develop citizens with employable skills, such as masons, carpenters, entrepreneurs, etc., because TVET is an area of priority for this government. We want people to be able to be self-employed, to be able to be employable, to be able to employ other people, so that government alone doesn't have to provide employment for everybody. During this financial year, The Division of Education will work alongside the Department of Economic Development through the 11th EDF to commission 2 workforce development centers, one physical and the other virtual. The focus of these centers is to ensure effective geographical distribution of TVET learning. Mr. Deputy President, for too long, the young people in the South have been clamoring for a center to be placed in the southern part of the island to ease the burden of travel to Castries. Mr. Deputy President, plans are well underway to facilitate the physical WDC in the south of the island by October of this year. Mr. Deputy President, CPEA, Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment. We all know that the Common Entrance Examination was the examination used to select students, not select secondary schools for students to enter, primary school students to enter secondary school. For a long time, students had to write a one-shot exam, a one-day exam to determine what secondary school they entered, whether it was their first choice, their second choice, their third choice. Mr. Deputy President, an analysis of countries writing the CSEC exam revealed that countries who undertake the CPA program perform significantly better at the CSEC exam, the CPA, sorry. So we are seeing that when the CPA is taken, that it has an effect on learning at secondary schools, because this exam is an authentic assessment that focuses on skill acquisition in the literacies. So it's not just teaching to the test. Some children have fear of examination. Sometimes a child is sick on the day of examination and cannot be placed in the school of their choice, even if that child was a very intelligent student. Struggling is an assessment, yes. Struggling students get the opportunity for greater success because the assessment is 40% school-based and 60% written exam. The internal part, or the school-based, constitutes projects, book reports, writing portfolios, teacher-made tests, pupil-made tests, and can-do skills. So students who have a skill can perform a skill as part of their assessment. A student may be able to be a dancer or an artist or what have you. All those skills are included in the assessment. And the external final component is a final examination. And this examination will be held in St. Lucia for the first time in the next week. So our students will be writing the CPA, the second component. So they would have done the school-based assessment, and they would be carrying with them to the final exam marks from the school-based assessment. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we need to, as you can see, it is skill-based, and this is the way that this government wants to move the education system. That at primary schools, a curriculum review should reflect a skill-oriented as opposed to an examination-driven curriculum. Presently, we have an exam-driven curriculum. And this has to be something of the past because the job market now, the emerging jobs, demand that students have skills and not necessarily content. Content is readily available, but we need the skills to be able to use the knowledge that is all around. Sometimes people are afraid of giving the children a laptop because they will be exposed to so much content. However, you cannot prevent students from being exposed to content. What we have to do is to prepare them, to give them the skills so that they can know how to deal with the content that they will encounter. Mr. Deputy President, we also embarked on a language education policy to fully integrate the Creole language into the school curriculum. Funds have been secured from UNESCO to plan and implement the application of the St. Lucia National Language Policy. So, Creola, nous pas vle Creola mort en Saint-Lucie, c'est un langage nous, c'est un langage peuple avec nous une policy neuf pour introduire Creole dans l'école. Comme ça, maman qui apprend mot Creole à l'école qui ça servi. Comme ça, nous pas vle faire ba hypocrite c'est Creole de maman qui a forcé parler Creole. Nous voulons moucher maman manière pour parler langage là. Avec pour nous pas faire qu'on longtemps, moi qu'on change les moitié l'école, teacher mettre l'école pas te vouloir parler créole. Après ça c'est un péché si vous parlez créole. Mais nous qui a navigué l'autre pays avec joindre les autres monde, nous savons manière créole là doule, nous savons parler parmi nous et pour les autres monde pas même savent ça nous a dit. So nous ni pour préserver le langage là parce que si nous pas fait ça, nous allons perdre Creole à Saint-Lucie. We are also including St. Lucian and Caribbean history in the school curriculum. We need to know more about us, more of who we are, so that we can identify with the things that are St. Lucian, the things that are Caribbean. So we no longer want to be British products or Canadian products. Mr. Deputy President, early childhood education. This is a priority for the St. Lucia Labour Party government. The government wants to ensure that all children receive a sound foundation in order to enjoy school and perform at their best. Quality early childhood education is therefore a priority. We are committed to working with both private and government-operated early childhood centers to ascertain that our children get the best start to formal education. Mr. Deputy President, we wasted no time in commissioning 3 early childhood centers in February, and a 4th was rehabilitated and recommissioned. We have allocated $500,000 to assist the early childhood sector. And I know today they are very happy that I have mentioned their names, because they have been telling me that when we speak of education, we speak of infant primary, and we forget the early childhood sector, which is the foundation for education anywhere in the world. And so I want to applaud all the workers of early childhood, all the instructors, the owners of centers. I want to thank you for the brilliant job that you have been doing to ensure that our children are prepared for secondary school. And not just for secondary school, but our children are prepared for life. Mr. Deputy President, special education. In an effort to provide a more realistic and appropriate option for special needs students, the Ministry of Education has initiated a post-primary alternative pathway in collaboration with CARE. This initiative will consist of a 2-year pre-vocational program to be followed by 2 years of the CARE program, and is expected to commence in the upcoming school year. Mr. Deputy President, for too long, our children of special needs have been closed inside. Some of them don't go to school. And we believe that some believe that they are second-class citizens. but they have a place in society, and we have so many examples of special needs students who have gone on to do very well in society. So we have to encourage them. We have to give them the resources. We have to give them proper education so that they can be independent learners and independent citizens. Mr. Deputy President, through the EQUIP project, the Special Education Department has benefited from training in the use of technology in instruction, new devices and equipment to modernize the sector. So normally when we think of laptops, etc., we think of the primary school, but our special education students, we are placing special emphasis to ensure that they enjoy the same quality of education that other students in the mainstream are enjoying. Mr. Deputy President, I move to school security. We are all cognizant of the major security threats that our schools face during and beyond normal school hours. Thus, school security remains a priority for the Ministry of Education, especially more so now with the increased crime rate, the break-ins at schools. This year, security systems, which include CCTVs and alarm systems, were installed at 7 schools across the island. This coming year,
Honorable Senator, you have 15 minutes.
Thank you. This coming year, the Ministry of Education will continue to seek opportunities to mobilize more resources in pursuing this agenda, along with improvements to school infrastructure and fencing. Additional training by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force to security officers will be pursued as financing becomes available. Let me hasten to say that recently we have seen the incidents of fights in schools, the use of obscenities on school compounds and of students with school uniform. Let me hasten to say that we at the Department of Education have zero tolerance for students who engage in fighting, encourage fighting, and record fights and obscenities in their school uniform and on the school ground. The videos get to us at the Ministry of Education, and it is very, very, very disappointing that our children would engage in such activities. I know before students would discourage fights, but now it seems our students are instigating fights and are recording the fights for their own enjoyment. This is lamentable, and the Ministry of Education will spare no effort in ensuring that this is put to a stop. Mr. Deputy President, school safety. We continue to grapple with the problem of mold infestation in schools. And as I speak, some of our schools are affected with mold. I remember as an education officer, I had to intervene on several occasions. I want to allay the fears of school principals and teachers that the Ministry of Education will spare no effort in ensuring that the school buildings are safe for all students, teachers, and staff. Mr. Deputy President, this government is serious about achieving a 1 university graduate per household. This was a campaign promise, and we know that we cannot do it in 1 academic year. Very promising dialogue has commenced with universities and colleges within the US and Canada, as well as traditional and non-traditional agencies and institutions in an effort to secure tertiary educational opportunities for our young people. Mr. Deputy President, tax relief will be provided to business places that assist employees pursuing education courses, and we shall continue to improve online learning platforms, particularly for tertiary education. We shall work with the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College in the expansion, that's what somebody didn't want to hear, we shall work with the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College in the expansion of its degree programs and to consider the feasibility of converting Sir Arthur Lewis Community College to a full-fledged university. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the former government couldn't do it in 6 years, but they expect this government to do it in 9 months. Mr. Deputy President, school renovation works for 2022-2023 financial year. This year's capital budget of $3 million will facilitate the rehabilitation of schools, libraries, and early childhood development centers, and innovation and career development centers. Most of the funding will go towards electrical and instructional works as we seek to upgrade the systems within our schools and other plants. Boca Secondary, which suffered a major loss, is also expected to receive a new replacement block in the new fiscal year. Mr. Deputy President, lifelong learning opportunities. We shall continue to make stride in collaborating with many social agencies to provide employability opportunities to the marginalized. 25 persons from the Public Assistance Program pursued courses in basic literacy and numeracy to CSEC, math and English. Mr. Deputy President, Sustainable Development. We would appreciate that climate change is real, and our government will respond as quickly as we can. As a small island developing state, we need to ensure that we build our resilience as we adapt to climate change. Government has received EC $17 million to be used for this purpose. As we collaborate with various entities, we are already seeing the rollout of sustainable livelihood initiatives, specifically targeting women who have lost their income due to climate change. Mr. Deputy President, the groundwork has been laid for training of 80 agro-processors who will use innovative resources to generate economic activity. And earlier on, I heard a call for agro-processing plants, and I'm wondering whether the former government was asleep because they had all the time in the world, and as I said before, they are starters. They are not finishers. We have to start and finish. If you don't have a finish, you don't have a product.
Right.
Mr. Deputy President, we have now received pledges for support at about US $4 million to support our climate change adaptation efforts. World Bank has approved US $21.9 million for exploration of geothermal energy. Part of our renewable energy efforts, street lighting replacement project. The CDP street lighting project loan, which was cancelled by the UW government, is now reinstated and will replace high energy sodium lights with 25,000 lights, LED lights, to reduce our energy consumption island-wide. We are using climate smart initiatives, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So now we give concession for electric cars, etc. We are eliminating the reliance on plastic, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy President, as I conclude this presentation, allow me to thank the staff of the Ministry of Education for their support and hard work. Let me thank the National Principals Association and the St. Lucia Teachers Union for their patience and collaboration during the trying times of the COVID pandemic. We are still grappling with new initiatives and how we adapt so that we don't let our children stay home, so that there is continuity in the education system. Let me thank the people of Choiseul for their continued support and understanding. Let me assure them that in my capacity as Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, I will continue to agitate on their behalf and to ensure that they receive what they deserve. We are not just planners and starters. We plan and execute, we implement, we deliver to the people of St. Lucia. Let me allay the fears of the people of Choiseul Saltibus that if they have, that I will represent them in cabinet. Their voices will be heard in cabinet as I represent them there. Let me in advance wish all the mothers of Choiseul Saltibus and of St. Lucia on the whole a happy Mother's Day in advance. Thank you very much.